A little bit of crazy, but a whole lot of right. You're listening to the Average Joe Podcast with Damon Gilbert.
Hey folks, how you doing? I'm taking a little walk today, and I thought, why not go ahead and start my show outside? It's a beautiful day. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous out. Look at this. Just absolutely gorgeous. Blue sky, dry air, dry, cool air. It's wonderful. One of the best things I really do enjoy spring, especially when it's an actual spring. We usually get, if we're lucky in the Midwest, we're usually lucky to get, 2 weeks of this. And then it goes straight into scorching, miserable, humid existence. And I don't know why I live in the Midwest. I mean, when you look at the coasts and their political, with the way politics are going right now, I'm glad I live in the Midwest today. There was a day in the not too distant past where I would always apologize to everyone when they'd ask me if I traveled or met people. They'd say, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, from Missouri, I'm sorry." I don't know why I did that. I guess it's mainly because I don't know. I had a more liberal mindset at that time, and I thought Missouri was kind of embarrassing. I used to always say it was actually Mississippi without professional sports. That's what I always considered it. But I couldn't have been more wrong. I'm glad I live where I live today. But I'm just saying the weather was always an issue. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about, actually I had a couple things I wanted to talk about. One is, have you ever been in a situation, and I know most of you have, and you can comment down below and give me your an example of how this has happened to you, but have you ever been in a situation where you're, say, at the store and someone speaks to you, maybe waves to you in the back of the line, and like they know you, and you have absolutely no idea who they are? That happened to me yesterday. And it's happened before. This was really one for the books. I had my father with me. He's 90 years old. So I help him do shopping and so forth once a week. So we were in this grocery store, and I was standing in line. We were checking out, and this woman, about 3 people back, is waving to me. Now, seriously, I thought she was talking to somebody behind me, and she kept waving and smiling, and I waved back finally, and I saw, her smile get wider, and I thought to myself, I have absolutely no idea who this person is. None whatsoever. Now, what do? Do I go over and speak to her? Do I fess up and say, I have absolutely no idea who you are? Can you explain to me who you are? That's always embarrassing. I always feel bad about that. I mean, it's probably the right thing to do, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that. So I played along. I thought, my father and I will get our stuff bagged up. We'll get out the door before I have to have any interaction with her. Well, that didn't happen. My dad's a little slow, and by the time we got out of there, she may have picked up her pace to come out there. So she ran across and said, "Hey, Damon, how you doing?" She said, "I wouldn't have recognized you if it hadn't been your dad with you." And I'm thinking, honey, join the club, because I have absolutely no idea who you are. So I played along. I said, I don't know if you're a fan of Seinfeld, but he actually did a scene like this where he had absolutely no idea who the woman was, and he played along. And that's exactly what I did. So I felt really bad about it, because as I watched her loading her groceries in her car, I thought, man, am I getting so old that I can't remember who people are? And I thought, that's going to bother me for the rest of the day. I told my father, he goes, "Who was that?" I said, "I have no idea, Dad. I really don't." It was embarrassing. So Moral of the story is, I was sitting, I guess my mind was working on this in the background. It's kind of like having a window open in your computer and it's just working on something while you're doing other things. Suddenly it came to me. And who it is irrelevant. But it did finally come to me. I knew I recognized that voice. And I guess the voice is what gave it away. Anyway, the person, it came to me. I thought, I know who that was now. And she didn't look anything. Well, I shouldn't say anything, but she was an older version of herself. And she looked like she'd been through, life for the most part. I mean, I'm no spring chicken. I'm sure not, a Brad Pitt clone. I know I'm a 4 at best, okay? Maybe 3.8 out of 10. So I'm not here to judge, but she had changed. But I was really glad. I ended up calling my father at the time. He's 90 years old, lives on his own. He's in great shape. And when I told him who it was, he goes, it was like somebody opened up the keys. They opened something up, and he was like, of course that's who that was. Yeah, I just had to share that with you because it happens. It happens a lot. And I know it's probably happened to you. So, like I said, if you've got a similar story, just share it with me. I'd like to hear it. So anyway, the reason I want to talk today is right now we are on the verge, I guess the country as a whole is on the verge of possibly having a deal to end the Iran conflict. I call it a conflict. A Democrat will call it a war. I don't think that's accurate. If you can call the Korean conflict that lasted 3.5, 4 years, if you can call that a conflict, you can call this military operation we've got going on against Iran, you can call it a conflict. Okay, so I'm not going to call it a war. It hasn't even been 60 days. So since this thing started. So anyway, point being, I guess it hasn't been 60 days. Just turned over 60 days, but nonetheless. Anyway, there's some talk right now. So I was listening to Trump last night being interviewed in the White House by the press corps about where we stood. Is there an agreement? Has Iran backed down? Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Now, mind you, there's still incidents taking place in the Strait of Hormuz. There's very little traffic getting through there. We've got it blockaded. We're not allowing Iran to leave at all. Currently they're getting ready to, they've got some real issues coming up because they have no place to go with their oil. They can't export it right now. We're not allowing that. We're not allowing it to go out. So that means they have to store it. Store it or burn it off. And they're doing both. Problem is they're running out of storage. If they run out of storage and they have no place to go, I wasn't aware of this, but when it comes to oil wells have so much pressure and they're so intricate, they're so complicated that you can't just turn them off like you turn off a valve. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Once you start pumping oil out of something, you have to continue to do that. And if you don't, that well can become useless. And they're bumping up against that right now. So we've got them exactly where we want them. They have no Air Force, they have no Navy. They got a ragtag army at this point. Now they do have rogue teams, especially on the coast, that are, I believe, they're in these small boats and they go out and they just pester tankers and large ships, and that's what's preventing the strait from being normal at the moment. Because, as I was explaining to my father last night, he didn't understand this whole situation, and I'm not saying that I do, but I do know this: if you don't have insurance on your boat and on the cargo, you're taking a risk of losing everything. And most companies won't do that. They feel that their cargo and their ship and their people have to be insured. There has to be some kind of guarantee. And right now, they're having trouble finding insurance. It's either unavailable or too expensive. So, rather than attempt to go through the strait, either coming or going, they're just sitting and waiting this thing out. There are actually boats out there, ships that have been there for 51 days, waiting for this. Waiting for this to break so that they can go through the strait. And that's ridiculous. See, here's the thing. Right now, where I'm at in Missouri, in the Midwest, I drove past a gas station this morning. The price was $4.19 for a gallon of gasoline. Now, is that expensive? It's pretty high, I will say. I will say that. That's pretty high. Now, whose fault is that? Well, depending on what party you're from or that you believe in, conservatives will tell you that this is just the way the market works. This price is based on speculation, and it's not wrong, because the world oil supply is it's like one big pool of oil. It's not like if the United States makes more oil than anyone else in the world, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change the price, because they pour their oil into that same pool, and then it's drawn from there based on the market. So if the market and the political atmosphere is screwed up, these oil companies and the people that buy and sell the oil, they will speculate that, hey, the price of oil is going to go up in a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And they bet on that. And right now they're betting that it's going to be high. And they're probably right. Because, and I wasn't aware of this, but if you do the math on it, this blockade is about, the blockade itself is probably 30 to 40 days old. Well, guess how long it takes a tanker to get from the Middle East to, let's say, China? It takes about 30 days. It's a long trip. So that means that China and the rest of the world, who gets most of their oil from Iran, they haven't seen a shortage yet. They're paying more for what they're getting, but the oil's available. Wait until that oil's not available, and that's coming up. And we're going to see that happen regardless of what's decided in the Middle East right now. Because that time lapse is still there. You can't make that disappear. You just can't. And Iran is in a position right now where the United States is not allowing them to ship anything out. We're on the verge. It's going to get worse, put it that way. 419 right now in my town. You go up the road a little bit, it's $2.99, I think, or $3.99. It's between 4 and 4.5 here in the Midwest. West Coast, it's $6 or $7 a gallon. It's probably going to get worse. It's probably going to get worse. Now, do I think that's going to hurt Trump in the long run in the midterms? Probably. It will probably affect it. Yeah. Because some people aren't real bright, okay? They see it. They're like children. Most people are. It's, how does it affect me this second, okay? And if I feel that I'm being taken advantage of or that I'm paying too much for something, I'm going to find somebody to blame. And in this case, because this war was started, or this conflict was started, they're going to point to Trump. Now, most of these people that I'm talking about, the vast majority of them don't vote anyway. So is it really going to matter? I don't know. It's going to be close. If redistricting does not go into effect before November, yes, it could. But if redistricting, and that's a completely different story, that's changed the whole tabletop. It's changed the whole game board. So we'll see how that goes. But here's what I want to say. Donald Trump, DJT, he's kind of letting me down a little bit here. He's threatened on more than one occasion if these people don't play ball, because you know how this works. The entire strategy of the Iranian regime. And mind you, they're a radical regime. They've been radical for almost 50 years. These are people you can't trust. You just can't. They want anyone who doesn't believe in Islam dead. Okay, that's what it says in the Quran. So they live by that. They live like it's the 13th century. It's the 13th century to an Iranian official today. It's just we have iPhones. That's the only difference there is. So, bottom line here, I think the only way you address this is you do what he's been threatening to do all along. And that's take out all their infrastructure. It's the only way you're going to be able to do this. You need to take out their ability to create electricity. You need to remove their ability to move goods around, bomb bridges. The only thing these people understand, that this regime understands, is force. That's it. And if there's one thing that we're good at in the United States, we're not good at a lot of stuff. Technology maybe, but the thing we are miles and miles better than anybody else, it's blowing shit up, waging war. We're really good at that. We really are. We're probably the best in the world. We don't mess around. We don't blow up one subway station or something with a improvised bomb. We don't do that. We take out the whole grid. We take out an entire town if we want to. We strategically and like a scalpel take out the parts that are the most important, the parts that do the work, and we put you in the dark basically. Now, back in World War II, what would we have done? We would have carpet bombed Tehran. That's what we would have done. That's what we did in Vietnam. That's what we did in World War XI, as Elon Omar says. So we're not doing that. So civilians are not dying at a massive rate just because of our indiscriminate bombing. But I'm telling you, the only way you're going to deal with these people is violence. And having said that, I'm no fan of the CIA, but from what I hear, they're moving assets into that area, and they've probably had them there for years. And they're trying to organize a revolt against this regime. The problem is these people do not have guns. Sorry about that. Had a little glitch. But anyway, people of Iran are in a position right now. They could rise up. But they've tried this before, and tens of thousands were killed. So I can't blame them for not doing that. That's scary. That's really scary to do that. You have a regime that has no problem killing you. Your leaders will kill you if you do anything to dispute their power. That is scary, and I can understand that. Why would a taxi driver in Tehran with a wife and 2 kids go out and do this and push against the regime with no weapons? That's a suicide mission. You can't do that. So I'm hoping that the CIA will do like they did in 1954 when they took out a democratically elected mullah and installed a Shah. Now, was the Shah a good guy? No, he wasn't. He was an asshole too. You know, look it up. The Shah of Iran, terrible guy. Had a horrible police force that went out and hunted people down, dissenters, that kind of thing. The problem was the difference between that and now. He was non-secular. He didn't care what you believed in. He didn't care what God you worshipped. He didn't care. He was kind of like Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was the same way. He didn't care what religion you were. He didn't care what you believed, as long as you did not try to screw with his ability and his power. That was it. He was a strongman. And in the Middle East, the only thing that these people understand is a strongman. And if you don't respond in that way, they don't respect you. And I firmly believe they don't respect us now. But I think that, hang on just a second. There we go. Another little glitch. Sorry about that. But anyway, the only way that you're going to win this thing, because if Donald Trump doesn't do that, if he doesn't take these people out, what they're doing is they're playing a long game. They're stalling. They're saying to themselves, the ones that are left, because there's always somebody behind them. There's always somebody behind the main guy. It may be 10, 12 deep. They're waiting for their opportunity. So the only way you can do this, because there's always somebody ready to replace somebody. It's like a hierarchy in a corporation. There's always somebody looking for a promotion. They've killed tons of them, but there's always somebody there to take their place. So how do you address this? You have to have a revolt. You have to put the people of this country in a position where they can decide their own destiny. And the only way you're going to do that is if you take these people out, the bad guys, in my opinion. And DJ Cheese talked about that. He's threatened it, he's warned, and he's doing what every other politician has done prior to him. He thinks these people are telling the truth. And I can understand that to some degree for his sake. I really can. I can understand you going, hey, I don't want to kill everybody. You know, if you guys would just get along, we'll all be good. Yeah. Imagine if Iran was an ally of the United States. How different the world would be. Well, under the Shah, like I said, he was a strong man. There's no doubt about it. You didn't want to screw with him. But in that world, if you look back at history, and you go back and you look at the way that country was run, and their culture back in the 70s, you had women going to college. You had people dressed like the Western world. You had women on the beaches in bikinis, not with burqas. It was a great thing. Again, I don't want to live like it's the 13th century. I don't know about the rest of you. Islam's coming for us. The Muslims are trying to take over the United States. You have to stop this. And I told my father the other day, and he's a big Democrat. He always has been. Big fan of FDR. And I brought it up. I said, you know what, Dad? During World War XI, Elon Omar, World War XI, I think FDR had a point. He put these people in jail. There were internment camps for people who were Japanese after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. He said, you know what? And then once Germany declared war on us, he did the same thing with the Germans and the Italians. You can't have the enemy running around in your country. Nothing good will come of that. So, in my opinion, FDR had a point. And I'm no fan of his, okay? I'm no fan of FDR. He made some huge mistakes. He was responsible for the Depression being extended. I mean, but that's a whole nother story. Point is, I think he was right on this. And I think the country as a whole is making a mistake. You're allowing Muslims to move into this country, and their whole purpose in life right now is to destroy the United States. I heard a senator the other day. She was grilling Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, and he brought up the fact that the Iranians have been using the term since 1979, "death to America." Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty straightforward. I don't think that's taken out of context. I think they mean that. They mean death to America. It's pretty simple, 3 words. There's no other way to interpret that. But the senator, she seemed to think that was just rhetoric. Well, if that's rhetoric, and I use the N-word in a workplace environment, and I claim that it's just rhetoric, that's probably not going to work. I'm going to get fired. I could get sued. So, anyway, just wanted to share that with you this morning, and we will talk again as things progress. I've got a lot to say about it, and I appreciate you accompanying me along on this walk today. You guys have a good day. Peace out.
A little bit of crazy, but a whole lot of right. You're listening to the Average Joe Podcast with Damon Gilbert.